Hi, we're Harriet and Mauro, and we're restoring a 5-acre smallholding in Spain into the homestead of our dreams. We are currently in the process of constructing a gorgeous yurt nestled at the end of one of our fields. After building a huge platform for it to sit on and then battling through the wettest December on record in Spain to try and get the roof and walls on, we eventually had an almost sealed dwelling. But before it became a warm, cozy home, there were a few more steps required. In this video, we are installing our beautiful custom-made wooden door and windows, making a terrifying cut through the wall of the yurt to install a wood-burning stove, and powering things up with our Vito Man Jump 220 power station. Alright, we are going to be working on the stove today, just hiding under the platform with my camera while Mauro gets a few bits and pieces, because it's a miserable, miserable day.
It's a lot smaller than it was.
Yeah, I thought this was huge. The first step was figuring out where the stove would be installed. For structural integrity and so that you don't have to cut through a join in the outer layers of canvas, it had to be placed in the middle of a module, and we settled on a spot directly opposite the main door. Alright, we're going for it.
Yep.
The next step was cutting a hole in the inner fabric for insulation and the outer canvas. This stove exit was designed by Celtic Yurts in conjunction with the stove manufacturer DINAC to ensure complete safety, and this ring we are holding up here is simply a ring of insulation which will later be installed as a bridge between the pipe and the sheet insulation. You'll see what I mean later, but for now we are just using it to mark the size. With the heating situation in progress, it was time to also think about power. As the yurt is situated a little way away from our main house, which only has a modest solar installation anyway, we decided to look for a standalone energy solution for this building. We have chosen to use the Vito Man Jump 220 power station, which we will be installing with its own set of solar panels. We will dive a little deeper into this process later in the video, but for now let me tell you a few basics about this device. If you don't know anything about portable power stations, they are basically a battery in a box which can be charged multiple ways and include all the sockets and ports that you need to draw power from it. They are game changers for off-grid settings like ours, or just for travel, for outhouses, sheds, for working across large sites, or simply for peace of mind in conventional domestic settings. We were interested in trying the Vito Man Jump 220 because from what we could see it looked like a good product, giving up to 2,200 watts of power and up to 4,000 at a peak. With a 1,500 watt-hour battery life, this is enough to run a small fridge overnight and easily run a laptop and other lights and small devices long into the evening. This is actually comparable to the system that we have in our house. It's a little smaller, but just to give you an idea, this box will give the yurt almost as much power as our entire house consumes from this much larger, much more expensive solar system. The Vito Man Jump 220 has no problem running big energy consuming devices like blenders, vacuum cleaners, electric kettles, and even a washing machine. At a price point a little more affordable than other comparable brands, we were curious to see how it would perform, and we'll let you know later in the video how it held up, and I'll show you a few unique features which we really love. So what we're digging a hole for is the massive concrete box, which is the base of the support for the stovepipe that comes out on the outside. Yeah, Celtic Yurts send you everything that you need for the stove, including this, which is pretty cool. They even send you the bags of cement that you need to fill in the concrete box once you've got the post positioned in it. They sent us all of the insulated pipe pieces. The only bit that we've provided ourselves is the black pipe connection from our existing stove to the pieces that they give you, because of course they don't know what size stove you've got or exactly what it's going to be like. Want it more, the middle is sort of I'm gonna have to pick it up and drop it in. Right, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Oh no, hang on. Ready, 1, 2, 3. We're just gonna drop it. Oh, hang on, I fell in.
Go out.
I'm trying. Wait.
I'm not dropping. I'm not dropping.
I can't go out. I can't bend that much.
Okay. Go.
I need to get out. I can't.
Okay, I'm laying in.
This is the heaviest thing I think we've ever moved.
Needs to be closer, but we can't go much closer, so.
The next step was to fix the huge support post in place whilst we poured concrete around it. For this purpose, we used a plank of wood with a hole cut in it, temporarily drilled to the underside of the yurt platform.
One thing that has been the bane of our existence since we live here is keeping bags of cement dry, and that's a problem that the yurt solves because it just gives us so much space to keep things dry. I envision some sort of boxes or drawers to put under here to put tools and like things that we don't use every day. It's really gonna change our lives and make our lives a lot easier. I don't really know what micro or micro hormigón is, like micro concrete.
As I've mentioned in previous videos, Celtic Yurts provided us with literally everything we needed to build this yurt, including the gravel we've previously used and these bags of cement. This concrete box weighed a ton to begin with, and we then filled it with 4 mixes of this cement. And although that pole was pretty long and wobbly, let me tell you, it was not going anywhere once we'd finished and the concrete had dried. I think the best thing about buying this yurt from Celtic Yurts has been that it allowed us for once to focus on the actual construction and labour involved in a project and not spend so much time planning and second-guessing everything ourselves. Everything from the structure of the platform, the material choices, the functioning of the stove installation and chimney support has already been figured out and engineered to work, and we just had to follow the instructions and build it. I think that's been one really enjoyable element of this project, and in the process we've learned so much. Having said that, I do just want to mention that Celtic Yurts can build the yurt for you themselves if you wish, and it is definitely something to bear in mind if you're considering a structure like this. We chose to build it ourselves because we knew we were capable of it and that we would enjoy it, but we did have to buy or borrow a significant number of new tools in order to complete the project, and I just wanted to mention because that might not feel like a trade-off that's worth it for everyone. So as I mentioned earlier, we will be powering our yurt with the Vitoman Jump 220, and we are installing a dedicated solar array to charge and power this device. When I say array, I mean actually 2 panels, because we are just looking at a maximum of about 400 watts to charge this device. So we're going to be putting 2 panels on a shed roof at a 45-degree angle facing due south, just about here. So I have wanted for a really long time to have a little shed in the garden where I can store some tools and little bits and pieces and have them easily at hand for the garden. And I'm marking out here the position where we're going to be building this shed. It's going to be perfect in this corner of the garden because we can get to all the tools easily for the garden and the polytunnel, which is just over there behind me. And the roof of this little shed is going to be where we're going to be putting the solar panels for the yurt. As you can see, the yurt is just behind me there. We are about, well, we're going to measure maybe like 8 meters away. So we're going to run cable underground from this little structure into the yurt. Let's see how far we are actually. So yeah, we're going to come up here, make use of the channels that we already have. And we're going to hop across here. We can bring the cable up along one of the legs so it's nice and neat. Tuck it in through the side there and it'll come out inside, obviously. So no need to drill through the sandwich board or anything like that. We can just tuck it all under there. And we are at about 11 meters here. As I mentioned earlier, the Jump 220 is a powerful and versatile portable power station with plenty of outlets for plugging in AC devices, USB-A or USB-C cables, and a high-quality lithium battery which can handle over 3,100 cycles. This particular box is comparable in specs to many of the other boxes on the market which you may have heard of, but it is at a slightly more pocket-friendly price point, and one of the key features that drew us to it is the fact that it can be charged by any appropriate solar panels. Not all power stations allow this. Some of them have their own special ports for charging, meaning that you are locked into buying their panels, which can be pricey and limiting. Vitoman, however, provide a generic 12 to 40 volt DC charging input port, so you can connect it to any panel or set of panels which meet these criteria. We are actually working with a local qualified solar electrician to source the panels and make sure that we don't make any mistakes, but if you have ever worked with solar before, maybe in a van conversion or in an off-grid setting and know a little bit about that sort of stuff, it probably is very straightforward to you, but we just didn't want to make any mistakes. If all of that sounds like a little bit of a headache, Vitoman do actually sell their own panels, so that's always an option if you want something that just plugs in and is guaranteed to work with their products. Okay, we're going to boil a kettle. It's the ultimate test because this is probably the most energy intensive thing that we do. It's a lot of power for a very short amount of time, but a lot of power to boil a kettle. We do not use this kettle normally in winter at all because we just don't have the power. So let's see how it does. So there are a couple more features of the Vitoman that I really like, and one of them is the handle on top. It just makes it really easy to carry one-handed, so I like that. And then another feature which I didn't notice at first, but has been extremely useful during this yurt build, has been the light on the back. I just think it makes a lot of sense for an emergency power source to also be an emergency light source. Sorry, that's a bit flashy. But yeah, it's been extremely useful for us over here building the yurt. We've been working well into the evening on many days, and this has been the light source that we've been using, so it's been great for that. Another feature that I like, well, I think is a cool feature. I'm not going to say I like it because I haven't used it. I'm not going to use it. I don't know how to use it, but it has a jump cable car battery starter thing. So you can jumpstart a car battery using this device, which is pretty cool. It's good to know it's there, especially on freezing cold days like this when sometimes cars don't start. It also came with some stickers, and it came with this little pouchy to store all its bits and pieces. Mauro likes that kind of stuff, so when I asked him what he likes about it, those were his comments. But yeah, is there anything we didn't particularly like about this box? No, not really. I guess the only thing I would say is that the charging cable is a little chunky. It has this converter pack on it, which makes it a little chunkier than it could be, but that's fine. It also doesn't charge super fast from AC. Solar charging is what I would expect. It's up to around 400 watts, which is comparable to other brands and other models. But wall charging from a plug in the wall was a little slower than I was expecting, but that's fine because actually for us, we're using it with solar anyway, so that's not an issue. Actually, if we were to plug this box into a wall in the main house and charge it from our main solar system, we actually prefer it to be a slower charge and not draw so much power at once, because then it's drawing a lot from our main system and we have to wait for a really sunny moment on a nice sunny day to do that. For most people, I can't really think of any situation where you would need to charge a box like this really quickly. So it's not really an issue for us. The fact that it charges in 4 hours rather than 1 is absolutely fine for us. As you probably know, we have been using portable power stations for many years as part of our off-grid setup, and they're absolutely essential to us. When we first started using them, I have to say we didn't know all that much about them. I think they were quite new on the market as a thing, but these days I'm hearing more and more people choose to use them, to have them as a backup option in their house, or to use across larger sites, working away from the house, in sheds, garages, that sort of thing. And I think they are well established now as very useful, versatile pieces of equipment that many people choose to have for many different reasons. For us, the Vitoman Jump 220 is working exactly as we expected and hoped, so I'm very happy to be using it in the yurt. It works perfectly for our needs here, and I'm happy to recommend it as a product. Vitoman do have a sale on at the moment where you can get up to 65% off across their products, which is a huge discount. If there was ever a time to buy a box like this, it would be now, because that is massive. And I also have a discount code which you can find in the description for an additional €20 off on top of the promotional price. Back on the yurt build, we were still battling the weather to get the yurt completely sealed before heavy rain arrived. We had managed to get the stove and all the pieces inside sorted out and ready to install, and the enormous concrete block with the support pole was drying out. In the meantime, we began work on the door and the windows. The first step was bringing the canvas covering up around the wooden door and window frame to ensure a weatherproof seal. Alright, well the insulation's like right at the edge, so you can pull this round, but like yeah, there's only that much because of where the insulation is. It's plenty, it's like more than half the door frame. I should put one in just to keep it in place. Abort.
I feel very annoyed if you have to stop now.
After getting the PVC canvas neatly folded around the outer door frame, it was time to fit the actual door itself, which of course came with its own frame. We had previously removed the glass from the frame to make it lighter and easier to install. Celtic Yurts offer many different options for doors and windows at various different price points, ranging from clear vinyl windows through to PVC framed windows or wooden frames like we went for. And we are so happy with the choice we made because, as you will see when we're done, it looks absolutely beautiful. However, getting the frames in place was a little tricky. Having never fitted a door or a window ourselves before, we had no idea how tight it was supposed to be or how best to wriggle it into place, so we had some differing ideas about how we might make it work.
I'm not trying to like go against what you say. I'm just like, it's just like I've seen the instructions and everything you suggest is the opposite of the instructions. So like I want to try what the instructions says first.
Everything I suggest is opposite.
Yes, because you don't watch the instructions.
No, I've come up with some I've come up with some good ideas during this.
I'm not saying you haven't, but like. It's hard to be the rules police, and like you're very immune to rules.
Should I go to the kitchen, try and find something flat? Oh, I know what we need. I know.
Bathroom.
After using a little spatula to help edge the door frame into place and make sure all the canvas was tucked neatly around it, it was time to hang the glass. It's time to hang the door. You okay?
Yep.
I'm a bit nervous about my feet with no shoes on doing this. Please don't drop it on my feet. I don't know where to put my hands, so they're gonna get stuck in here, aren't they? You know what we should do? We should bring a big piece of wood and put it on the wood to get it a little bit higher. Right. We need to get more yard. Okay.
Ah! That's my foot! That's my foot!
Okay. I don't want it then.
Go! Go!
Okay, this one's lined up. Well, down here it slipped off a line there. Oh, it's on. Oh my god. Oh, these caps have fallen off. Wow, that's actually a beautiful view of the sun just coming in through that window. The window was a little harder than the door to install because for some reason it was a lot tighter in the frame and required a fair bit of hammering to encourage it in.
I have the weight. Ready?
Alright, that's one.
Right here.
Right. Okay. There, make it more straight. Oh, that was in. Eventually we got it in and adjusted the panes, and it was looking gorgeous, oriented towards the southeast to let beautiful morning light into the yurt. With the door and window installed and the concrete blocks set, it was time to finish the stove installation. So what are you doing out there?
I'm taping up the outer shell to the insulating ring.
Here comes your spanner. What am I doing? Just holding it in place? Is that enough, maybe? Yeah, okay, I just can't really stick it over. The next stage was to attach the outer stovepipe to the support post. This was actually fairly tricky as it involved us both working quite high up the ladder, and the pipe pieces themselves were pretty heavy. Luckily, this model of pipe that had been supplied slotted together easily, unlike some other types which can require more wiggling to make them fit. Finally, it was just one piece left which Mauro managed to get into position. There we go, doesn't that look beautiful? What do you want them? Oh, yikes. I'm gonna go cut these tiles. So this piece and the pipe, this pipe here, are the only pieces that we had to buy for the stove installation. We already had the stove. Everything else came. All the embellishments and the adapters and the bits that are going through the wall and the chimney that you just saw came with the Celtic Yurts stove kit. The only thing we have to do, which is what we're just measuring for now, is cut our piece of pipe so that it's at the right height to join the stove to the thing that comes through the wall, and we'll be done. I need to buy another pair of ear protectors. Ta-da! Beautiful.
Sorry, Tofu, we don't have a staircase for you yet.
Tofu really wants to come in. Honestly? After getting the stove into place and running around all the joints with heatproof sealant, we waited 24 hours before covering the joints with a final layer of heat-resistant aluminium tape. We do have some black heat-resistant spray paint that we can use to spray over the silver tape to make it look a little bit nicer, and we will do that at some point. But for now, after weeks of work, it was a very exciting moment. It was finally time to light a fire and spend a night in the yurt. Very important. Let's set this up. We've all got horrible colds at the moment, so Mauro is going to isolate himself in the yurt, partly because we're all excited to try it out and see how warm it gets in here, and also to avoid getting as sick as we've all got. I'm a little bit jealous. It's really nice in here. This is my view right now. we're starting to get a few little creature comforts in here, like this doormat, a bin, a mirror, a mirror.
What are you doing, Daddy?
We just need small stickies because it's not a very big fire. It's only a little fire. Little stickies. You found a good one?
Daddy, that.
Get some more stickies.
How about this? Rabbit.
Yeah.
It's a big rabbit.
Yeah, that's good. Wow, stand back, Dante. It's not an easy stove to light, this one, but we're getting there eventually.
I think we need to be more aggressive with the sticks, just like really load it up with sticks, get it raging.
The one in the house is just too easy, so we're kind of used to chucking anything on it, and it just works. So here it is, the yurt is finally sealed, and it is done. As you can see, we made a set of sturdy stairs up to the door, which to be honest would have been good to make a little earlier on in the build, but there you go. Wow, he's up! Oh, you're looking forward.
Wow, Santi!
You were looking forward to that all afternoon, weren't you? Toffee? Toffee!
Out!
Can you get down? Can you get down? Can you do it? Oh, there we go. We are going to try and put some sort of skirt or board up along the front here so that you don't see the odds and ends that we intend to store underneath. But yeah, it is looking so lovely and we are so thrilled with it. If you have any questions about the yurt, the build, our intentions with it, or Celtic Yurts, or about the Veto Man Jump G20, or using portable power stations in general, do let us know in the comments, and we will be making an overview video of the whole process and answering any questions that we get on any of that.
Good morning, Happy New Year. It is New Year's Day. It is 8-ish in the morning. It is 4 degrees outside. Just spent the first night in the yurt. In terms of peacefulness, it wasn't the best night to really sleep here because, yeah, people were partying. You could hear the music. So in terms of acoustics, you could hear a lot. But you could also hear the water flowing the river outside. You could hear the frogs, so it is really nice. I could sort of get an impression of that. It was great. While at night, during the night, it was great. I think this size stove that we have is very good for this space. Like, it was toasty. It was almost like I was sweating at some point. So it really, you can really get it. You can really get the space hot with not a lot of wood. Like not. We didn't really use any big logs. I think I put the last log at 10 and at 4 a.m. It was cold. So I think that needs to, you need to maybe wake up in the middle of the night and put an extra one, or maybe put the last one a bit later. But yeah, this morning it was cold and it was my fault. But it is what I would expect, really. I wouldn't expect a yurt. I built it, so I know what's in the walls. So I know that it shouldn't retain all that heat all night long, 12 hours. It's a bit crazy. Well, 10, but so yeah, not much more to say. It's a really beautiful space. It doesn't make sense for me to spend a lot of time here because I have a family and a house, but the time that I spent here has been really nice. And I'm really looking forward to finding uses for it, and like building an office here, and like maybe having a party in here. Like, I also thought that we could put a projector screen and like show movies. So there's a lot of things that we can do with this space, and I'm really, really happy that we finally built it. And the last day of the year, we cut the deadline close.